Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. Mr. Sly back in here. And some time ago, I did a video breaking down this whole issue on why marriages abroad, or why marriages made in Nigeria, when they go abroad, why they crash. And today we're going to go into Channels TV, Channels News, where they interview the man who came to discuss this same topic. Now, this is almost a year after I did my own video. I'm very sure this man watched my video as a form of research for what he was going to say, because he said some things I said word for word. Now, however, Channels News, being who they are, took time to turn the whole thing around to destroy the image of the average Nigerian man. And Mr. Sly today is going to be reacting to that, fighting for the men as usual, make Nigerian men great again. So that being said, let's get into the video for today. But for that, do me a favor, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. The journey is moving on. The church is getting full. We are going to open a branch soon. Let's get to the video. This is Misplaced Expectations Behind Divorce. Boko marriages within African couples abroad. Roll the tape. I'm just going to mute this around here. Don't want no copyright. Skip to somewhere around here.
Relationships, particularly African relationships, get even more challenged when they change locations, when they move to other parts of the world.
And take note, guys, I'm going to be reacting. I'll be interjecting at some point in time, pause it to speak a bit. If you want the full video uninterrupted, you can go to their channel. But this year, we are here to teach. So pardon me, please.
That affect people's emotions, productivity, that affect homes, because ultimately that is what we see affecting the nation at large. So we're joined on the program this morning by the President, Edo Diaspora UK, who's also a legal practitioner, High Chief Musa Amedu. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me, and I'm happy to be here. Your program very interesting. I'll say thank you again. Interesting topic.
Well, let's get right into it. I know you must have handled lots of divorce cases, and some say when they're in Nigeria, the relationships are all rosy, but when they change time zones, when the temperature is much lower, things begin to happen. That's when the woman realizes some things and the man realizes some things, and then the relationships begin to get issues. We've seen multiple videos online showing these things, and we wanted to just shine a spotlight on this issue this morning and ask you, what is really responsible for Nigerian or African relationships hitting the rocks when they get out there?
I will say two things. First and foremost, the societal expectation of Nigerians when it comes to marital relationship is totally different from their newfound land or newfound space of European expectation. And what tends to happen is that upbringing has a role to play, an expectation in such a way that when you find yourself in Europe, there is a way you are wired to sort of not conform into that community or society, but the level of assimilation is such that the woman is empowered more than the man would imagine. And the cultural upbringing of African men has a very big minuses for them, because they are not exposed to that sort of equality or that sort of marital partnership you really need. I think what is happening is
I'm sorry, guys, so quick I have to jump in here. Apal, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, High Chief, but you're getting this wrong. There is no such thing as equality in an African marriage. In the workplace, fine, there's equality and whatnot, in politics or whatever, but in the African marriage, take it or leave it, there is no such thing as equality. So you saying that men are not exposed to equality is the problem is actually wrong, because there can be equality. If an African wife considers herself equal to the husband, how can the children respect that man? There has to be this balance where the man has to have a final say in that marriage for the purpose of order to be maintained, for the purpose of respect to flow, and for the family to progress. Let's continue.
Case of misplaced expectation, meaning that when you find yourself in Europe, the relationship is not the same as when you are in Africa. In Africa, there are tripod situations where the family, the community, the society plays a role, but it's in favor of the men, not the women. But in Europe, it plays a role in favor of the women, not the men. And when you bring that into play, it becomes a case of partnership. That partnership will always be missing because you have too much interference into marital relationship among the African community. Now, till date, you will see that it gets to that point where they fight inwardly, outwardly, they arrest themselves, call the police, kill one another. For me, I just think first it's not necessary that the man should aggregate the situation to know that you are now in a different society where man and woman almost plays equal role. Even in most cases, the women earns higher than the men, and that is another source of a very big conflict. But my position on that is you learn to tolerate one another. When you learn to tolerate one another, it becomes a lot easier.
No. Listen, we can't tolerate. It's not an issue of tolerate. Men, listen to me, because I know women are going to be angry at this. He is not telling you men who move overseas with your wife to tolerate. What he's saying is, as a man, you should learn to take the subservient position. You should learn to shut your mouth up as the man. Because if you don't shut your mouth up, your wife is going to call the police for you and nobody is going to see anything wrong in that.
Problem to resolve as to those minuses that trigger rift and conflict in the marital relationship.
Well, Mr. Medu, for me, Kayode did a very good setting out by saying that things were rosy when they were back in Nigeria for most of these, marital, breakups that we see before they migrated. So my question would be, aren't they the same people? It was just, a challenge that has brought out what was really inside whichever partner was responsible for the breakup.
The woman.
Now, that's I refer you back to my tripod position. First, in Africa, the family plays a role of helping to bring up the children. The extended members also play the role of trying to do house chores. The man doesn't do house chores in Africa. I'm not saying that they are excluded from it, but that is the setting. And at the same time, the career of the woman is not spelled out. It's not encouraged. It's not empowered by the man in any way. Whereas when they get to Europe, three things start happening. Now the woman, she wants to develop herself. And I think that is very right, and that's how it should be. Then move on from there. The issue of childbearing, looking after the children, child minding. Who is responsible? Who is paying the bill? So you get to a point where when they get to Europe, the issue of my money is my money, your money is our money plays up. Then you move on from there. Then the emotional support.
Sorry, let me just correct that notion. This issue of my money is my money, that's the woman, and your money as a man is our money, is not a new thing in Europe. When you move overseas with your wife, it does not become a new thing to you guys. This has always been the norm, even here in Africa. The man's money has always been the money of the home. He has always been the one shouldering every responsibility. He has always been the one paying the bills in the home. So the only thing that changes when you move overseas is the fact that the woman now makes the same money as you as the man. And most of the time, if you're not even careful, she makes more than you. But when she's making more than you, as expected, that who earns more takes care more, she says no. She still remains stingy and still holds on to that ideology of your money is our money, even if she's making a lot more money than you are. That is where the problem begins.
Who is bringing it? Who is gaslighting who? Who is actually in favor of that love? So you see that the definition of love takes a different dimension, because while one is working, the other one is thinking something totally different. But why is it that when it gets to Europe, things change? Things change because you now find the true person who is actually in love and who is not in love. So you might have a situation where that issue of it was good in Africa because most families, they play a supporting role which you will not find in Europe. So that for me is an issue.
So is the African definition of true love counterfeit?
I think it will be disingenuous of me to talk like that because I'm domesticated, and that is a big minus. It's a learning curve for most African men that the man plays a role. Now, is it domesticated? Is it fake?
He doesn't want to say the answer as it is, and I'll tell you the truth here. The African definition of love is actually the true meaning of love. What am I saying? The fact that in Africa, you could see a very beautiful young girl get married to an old, ugly man, but the sake of the fact that he is able to provide for her, the sake of the fact that he is able to take care of her and the offsprings is what matters most. That is the true meaning of love. You see a girl married to a man who has 3 other wives. Shout out to Nedwoko. Shout out to the senator. You see a girl married to a man who has 3 other wives. You don't ask her what is wrong with you. You understand that this African system says this. If the man can provide for her, why not? If the man can provide for the children, why not? The African definition of love is the true definition of love. Now, the Western definition of love is what is totally wrong. The Western definition of love says you as a man must be subjugated. That is why I dare to say that when you see the Western man want to get married, he goes on his knees to beg just to marry the woman, saying, "Will you marry me? Will you marry me?" Kneeling down, knowing fully well that once he stands up, he's going to start shouldering every of her responsibility. So the African definition of love is actually the true meaning of love.
I don't think so. I think it's just ignorance on the part of the man not to accept the reality on ground. The reality on ground is that in Europe, the man and the woman join hands together to form a family unit that benefits both parties. Now, if that happens and one is suffering in the area of maybe malice, silence, uncooperativeness, then family interference, those family interference will play a role. But back in Europe, yes, it's going to be a big problem if both are not cooperating, and it's going to be a partnership. Without partnership, it's not going to work.
So, sir, let's talk about the shocks. 2 questions, if you will. Let's take the first one. From your experience and your conversations with people, who gets the bigger shock? Is it the man or the woman? What I mean by that is, the man who perhaps the argument about not being domesticated gets shocked that, oh, there are higher expectations. Or the woman now seeing that, oh, I have a lot of leverage here to be able to cover a certain mileage in terms of my capacity and power and liberty, if you will. So who gets the bigger shock here? And that's on one hand. Second, let's begin to advise on how to adapt to these shocks.
First, I think it's the man that gets the shock that the woman in question is no longer at that downstairs level where he is now being looked upon or be fitted to say you are the man. In Europe, it doesn't matter whether you are the man or you are the woman. Those rules are reversal. Who goes to work prepares. Who's at home prepare for who goes to work. And those are the sort of things I think it should be. Now, who gets a bigger shock? I think it's the woman who now discovered that her latitude knows no bound. Because at the end of the day, all she needs to do in domestic violence is to make an allegation. And that goes a long way to build or destroy the man's career, if the man is. But at the same time, you need to start asking yourself, why do marital problem creep up? It creeps up because there's somebody interfering. There's somebody who believes they know better, and that at the end of the day, the man is trying to react. And in trying to react, you see that the man might be making a mistake. My position is that you don't need to react. You learn to develop yourself. If both parties are developing themselves, both parties are equally contributing to the keeping of the house, there shouldn't be a problem. But there is a problem when one person is, in my own opinion, is living on a different realm. And that different realm is synonymous with African people, because one is there claiming knowledge while the other one is feeling cheated.
A lot to unpack here, really, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. These are things that we see every day on social media, hear about, but having this conversation, I think, just gives a little more light to people who are maybe going through this. And that's my next question. For those who are going through this, who are experiencing that shock, particularly the men, and eventually the women even live longer than the men, whether you're in Nigeria or the US or wherever, how have you seen this affect children, right? The children particularly, because for them also there's a lot going on. They've just been moved to a different climb.
All right. Okay. Shout out to Channels TV for letting me use that video. You can go watch the rest of the video there. But as usual, what has this video done? This video has taken their time to make men look like the evil, angry people. It has taken a time to point fingers as men being the reason why marriages break up when they move over there. Citing reasons such as the man does not want to accept that they are equal, the man does not want to accept that she's now making more money. That is not the problem. No one is talking about the woman who goes about cheating on the husband with her co-worker. No one is talking about the woman who goes about calling the police, laying false accusation against the husband just to get him arrested and kicked out. I have reviewed so many videos on my channel of men who lost their certificates, who lost their practicing certificate as doctors, nurses, whatever, just because their wife called the police on them. No one is talking about the women who kick these men out of the house because the law says she should have the chance to stay in the house and the man can go and sleep in the street. No one is talking about the women who throw the clothes of this man out of the house. You see the video I reviewed some months ago of the man who said his wife has kicked him out. He doesn't know what he's going to do now, but that is a relief for him because she has put him through hell. No one is talking about the men who suffer because the women are the one who hold the passport or whatever. And if the man is cut off from her, he has to go back to Nigeria. I interviewed a guy some time ago, not on my channel, but I brought the story to you guys. This guy moved overseas with his wife. After lies she told against him, he's back now in Otokutu in Warri. He's back now suffering and hustling there because she lied against him and she's married to another man overseas. The same overseas that he sold his inheritance to move she and the children over there. No one is talking about the women doing this to the men. You see, these TV stations like Channel, they invite men like this who come to tread lightly and not say the truth. If you bring men like Mr. Sly, shout out to the Sly Pro Max, MNMG and Make Nigeria Green Again, we are going to shut down that place with the truth. We need to start voicing out for men because men are suffering a lot in the hands of women, both here and abroad. But then, this makes men look like the bad people. But with that being said, guys, do you agree with me that women actually are the major reasons why these marriages break up? Because they believe they can now teach the man a big lesson. But with that being said, it is what it is anyway. I'm out.